Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Hey, happy KOTG Tuesday.
Man, I barely made it, fellas. I'm gonna tell you what.
Well, you made it.
Man, I fell asleep in my bed again. Snapped awake. I didn't set anything up.
Just grabbing stuff and going, huh?
One of those nights for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, more and more now. I'm ready for bed right after the show. You know, I mean, I'm hoping that with daylight savings coming up, there'll be more opportunities to get outside. Because man, we got some rain. It's cooled off a little bit now, but I'm hoping to get some green finally. I think I see some areas where you could tell the lawn just wants to wake up, and it just was waiting for some water. And we got that this past overnight and earlier this afternoon, about half an inch. So a little drink, a little taste before I get out there next weekend and do my next steps here to prepare for spring.
Well, you boys have been having some hot weather out there in the Midwest.
Man, yeah, it was
out in the plains.
Nice, very nice. And windy too, very windy, which made it nice because it didn't feel so hot. You were like,
yeah.
What's weather like for you, Brent?
It was like 65 this weekend. I woke up today and it was like cold and rainy, man. I had like the defroster going. Turn on my heated steering wheel.
Nice.
It was cold this morning. I don't know. It's just like Northeast this time of year. It's like hit or miss. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
The kids were out playing like Sunday night, and I was like wandering around the neighborhood trying to find them. And I was like walking down the street. One of my neighbors was out, and I was like, well, what are we doing right now? He's like, I don't know. It's a beautiful day, but it's gonna be like 30 or something tomorrow. I was like, yeah,
this is too early. This feels like summer already.
Yeah, it's hit or miss, man. You just never know. And every year it's always the same. Every year we always comment of like, oh yeah, I guess we'll see what tomorrow brings.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it's always late getting started here. But
well, what do you say we kick off this show, you guys? Welcome everybody.
Yeah, let's grab a glass.
Let's grab it.
Grab a glass and keep off the grass.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Just ice water tonight.
Something I want to show you guys. You guys have probably seen this a little bit already, but sharing. This is good old Utah, man.
Oh man, I was hoping we would show these. This is incredible.
These ones I got right now, but we had major tumbleweed storm come through, probably about the right time. But man, we're still freezing. It snowed again this morning, guys. That's where we're at in Utah. Still a little bit of snow. Wasn't much, just a dusting and stuff. It's already melted for the day, but yeah, definitely cold. But some people I've seen somebody had a real Instagram or TikTok. It was like 15 million views or something. They saw the tumbleweeds blowing through. Well, that's what the morning, kind of overnight in the morning, was all the tumbleweeds, and then all of a sudden we get this rain, sleet, / snow coming through, and now you just see all these tumbleweeds piles that are just frozen together, and that's going to make cleanup a whole lot worse,
man,
than what it was.
I saw one where a dude was driving around with his snowplow on his truck, and he just was plowing through the tumbleweeds. Yeah. It's like you couldn't even see his pickup truck.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, you sent us one of Drunk Lawn Guy's stories you put up, and I went and checked it out, and I was like, okay, I got to start from the beginning here. And the progression of his story, little snippets where it goes from, you could see them just going down the road to then pile it up on the side of the houses. And then later in the day, there's snow on the road and they're all covered in snow. It was just getting crazier and crazier because I had never, that's so wild. Like, so you could potentially get home and that's all in front of your driveway. So you have to like find a way to clear it out. Otherwise you can't park in your garage or get to your front door. That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah, there's the video.
Yeah.
This was the road. Drunk Lawn Guy actually started driving down this road, and that's where you couldn't, but because it was so covered. But yeah, I mean,
hacked.
Yeah, he did.
Man,
they're sharp too, right?
Oh, sure, man. It's like
good Lord,
sticker weeds and stuff, man. Thorns, horns, all over the place. people's houses piling up all around their cars.
So when it gets that bad, like how do you even get rid of all of those? I mean, is each
what's the
person kind of
actual
like responsible
process?
for their own tumbleweeds?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I know the city was out helping a few people I saw on their Facebook groups, but essentially, what's happening is people are in charge of cleaning up their own. Last year, they dug a big old pit just north of our neighborhood and put out dumpsters, like big old construction dumpsters in everybody's streets. And everybody just picked up their own tumbleweeds and threw them in the dumpsters. And then they came and grabbed the dumpster and dropped them into those pits. And they just had a huge bonfire burning them all. So, yeah, I mean, it was crazy. Super, super strong wind.
I'm still on mute. So do you have like designated gloves that go up your arms so you can kind of grab them and
Oh, yeah. You
dump them? Or
to be like layers of sweatshirts and thick gloves and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, you just pick them up, burn them, and then they start again next year, man. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
Jeez.
Man, I don't know
But
about that.
I just got a whole crap load of squirrels in my front tree, and they just chew on the little branches, and all these little sticks fall.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
like making tiny sticks. I think that's the worst I got.
That's a mess, though.
That's
yeah,
all I
but
got.
still, cleaning that up is kind of hard.
Yeah,
But yeah,
not as bad as you guys got it. But I guess Ryan's not doing any soil testing anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. We're talking about soil testing, and I thought for sure. I mean, just even a couple weeks ago that it's getting up to the 60s. It's beautiful. It's nice, and then it snows, and then it gets back up to the 60s. Like, okay, maybe we're done. Nope, we get more snow. So we're gonna have to rely on you guys right now, doing a lot of testing. I want to hear from chat. Who's already maybe pulled some plugs and sent them off. I know Bill has done a test already. What about you, Brent? Are you doing one at all, or have you done one, or not this year?
No, I'm going to. I haven't done it yet. It's one of those things where it's like, oh crap, I should probably order that. Oh man, I got busy today and didn't do it. So I'll probably try to get one ordered this week, and probably get some soil plugs pulled. Not this weekend, but the weekend after.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't ordered one yet, but I'm going
Josh,
to. I'm going to do the earthworks again. It's just
Sounds like you're just warming up enough to do that, though.
Yeah. I'm not too terribly worried about it. Kind of going back. I usually end up hitting that stride of starting to green up. First mow is usually, I want to say usually the second week of April. Kind of looking at things historically, so I'm not really too terribly worried about getting it done right away. But yeah, I mean, I still got some time in terms of when things are going to start growing. So I definitely got some time that I'm not really terribly concerned about. And it was raining all last weekend. Apparently, it's going to rain all this weekend. So, I'm going to try to. I was hoping because I was away this weekend, so I didn't get my pre-emergent down, which was what I had hoped to do. So hopefully I'll get a little lull in the rain here this weekend, and I can get that down. And hopefully I can get out there and pull some plugs and let it sit until I get the test kit in. But yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Nice. So Bee Butcher, let's talk about that real quick before we get into what your experience was, Bill. But Bee Butcher wants to know what to use for a soil test. And I know there's basically two types of soil tests. I wish Olee was on because he was talking about it on his stories a few days or week back. But there's the kind where they ship it to you and there's a liquid or petri dish kind of sample.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
And then there's one where you ship back a pound of dirt, basically, and they'll do he called it something else. But what do you guys recommend? Because I know, Bill, you're doing earthworks, but you've done local stuff before.
Yes, yeah. So the first couple of years, I went to the extension office. I'm lucky, I'm in Columbia, Missouri. Like we have Mizzou's right there, and my office is like down the street. So if you go in the middle of the afternoon during the week, when it's like lunchtime, it's not very busy downtown, so you don't have to worry about parking. You just pop in there, go down to the basement, and drop off your dirt. They have little boxes there. You put it in, so you bring your own little bag or container, then you pour it into that where you write your stuff, and then cut them a check. And it takes a week or so, and they'll email you their kind of report out. It's really cool. I mean, it's neat to get to go down there and check it out. They laugh when I tell them it's like lawn and stuff, but I imagine there's tons of farmers and all kinds of guys that utilize this. So I know that the results are going to be accurate. As accurate as the the plugs I pulled and the randomness of my sample. So that worked out really well the first 2 years. The reports are just kind of like a generic. There's nothing. It's not eye pleasing, It can be a little bit like, it's like you're looking at a graph and a chart with lines, and almost like you're doing taxes or something. There's a form thing, and then at the bottom it has like a couple lines like, apply this much nitrogen or blah blah blah, whatever. So it has a couple little recommendations there, but then there's no kind of like overarching analysis. So it was good and helpful, and I liked it. But I'm trying something different. Last year I tried something different. I went with earthworks just to kind of see how that went and kind of what it looked like and what their recommendations would be. And I like the graphical kind of representation of stuff. That's really helpful. But as far as which one's better, it probably just depends on how easy is it to get to an extension office. Can you can you mail it out to them? What's the cost of shipping? How much is the test there, and do you have to add on extras for micronutrients or things like that? So I guess maybe it just depends.
Because you do have some universities and stuff like that, right? So somebody that may live close to a university, they might be able to contact them and be able to bring a sample in. Otherwise, you may be a few miles out, an hour or two away from them, and might have to be able to ship it to them and just talk to them and figure that out. But I kind of was that same way too. Was I never tested soil till I moved up here to Utah, because Phoenix was like, everything was pretty much depleted in the soil, so it didn't matter. But yeah, I mean, it comes down to there was a Logan Labs that was talked about quite a bit for the last couple of years with us, and then Earthworks, they came out with one. There's some other ones as well. So from the consensus, I think we all agree that doing a sample of soil and shipping it off is a little bit better than doing the liquid petri dish kind of tests.
Those are like the at-home kits, like those little rapid test things. Yeah,
like a rapid test kind of thing.
That could be something that's like super easy. Like I can imagine how like maybe a gardener would be using that for like vegetables and stuff, just to make sure the soil is kind of right, where you could maybe add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, just to kind of tweak it or something. But I'm kind of colorblind. Those wouldn't be good for me anyway. But if you need something right away, some crude, qualitative result maybe. But
I guess maybe you had a trouble spot, that you were trying to figure out what was going on. Maybe you could do something real quick. But as far as the whole yard and stuff like that, and Mike Reagan said it there in the chat is, I've never been a fan of you take a soil test and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you should buy this and this and this from us, and you should be using this, that, and the other. I like the ones that say you're deficient in this or you're over this and this, you need to apply whatever it is, and it's up to you to go out and get that. So
Yeah, I will say that the Earthworks test, of course, is like, here's what we think and here's a product we make that would work for that. Like that,
Yeah,
it's their
right.
test, obviously, you're right, but that doesn't mean you can't look at the test and be like, oh, okay, nitrogen's low. Okay, potassium's low, phos is fine. Let's get a no phos fertilizer and make sure I hit my pounds of nitrogen for the year that I want. It's not crazy, but I mean, yeah, they'll obviously kind of steer you to their products, which is, I haven't
That's
used
kind of their
other,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't used other proprietary tests. I haven't done the My Soil or Soil Savvy or some of those other ones. So I don't know, like, are their recommendations like unbiased as far as like
Sure.
they make no mention of the fact that they have any connection to a fertilizer company? I don't know. Maybe folks in the chat who have used those might know if it's just like straight.
Yeah. And here's the question: Tennessee Law Enforcement asked it, but as well as Fart in the Dirt kind of asked it as well, a little up more in the chat. But let's say you fertilize and you put your pre-emergent down for the dirt, said weed killer. Can you still do a soil test?
I mean, I don't think it would be. The results wouldn't be what you're looking for because you just put
Right.
fertilizer down. So you want to see how your soil is without having just put something down. I would imagine. I mean, you could verify that it's in the soil. All of a sudden your nitrogen will be really high because it's like, yeah, it's right there. But
Sure.
yeah,
You're
you want to do
probably
it
shipping
before,
off some of the granulars, with,
right?
with
Yeah,
your
you want
fertilizer.
to do it before you put anything down. So that people say, like people can do it maybe coming out of summertime. Maybe you put some fertilizer down in the spring, whatever. Nothing until fall, right? And you want to do a soil test before that to see, but that may be overkill. But if you do stuff all season, and like what we like to do, get one in the spring before you really plan out your program. I think that would be ideal. That's why I get a soil test. Is kind of say, okay, what do I need and what don't I need?
So let's talk about yours, Bill. Like, what did you do this year to get your soil test ready? Because I know you've pulled stuff. So tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, I did the plugs and everything last weekend and shipped it off just the other day. So hopefully I'll get them by next week. So I want to see if I made progress from my test last year. So this is the second year now that I've done Earthworks. So it'll be kind of cool to see, same system, same lab, what difference, if any, will I have made from last year. And I think the big thing that I did was put down some gypsum in the soil, and and then the rest was just kind of fertilizer. Nothing too crazy that I needed particularly. So
how far do you go down and pull? We got a picture here that I had for last year. What are you? Well, for one, what are you using to pull plugs with?
So I have the
probe.
Yeah, I use the Lansey probe. It's nice. Okay. I kind of my soil has so much clay that, and when I was pulling my plugs, it was the ground wasn't crazy soft, and it's that hard clay, so it kind of like smushes itself. So it's a pain in the ass to kind of pull that out of there. Mm-hmm. It's not the fault of the probe. It's just my soil. I do wonder though if I use maybe my Pro plugger, the bigger ones like Nate uses for his plugs. I think that's what he uses. Where they're a little bit bigger, maybe it'd be easier to plop them out. But
well, I know he had to use one because he said when he went out and did some plug pulling, there's his nicely framed picture there. Uses probe to pull out. You guys are super dry, like super dry dirt and stuff. So he said that he had to actually go through and use his Pro plugger to pull up some plugs. That's him using his
there you go.
Pro plugger and stuff on that. So I've actually kind of thought about doing that too, is using a Pro plugger sometimes because, man, just my backyard and stuff like that is just super compacted. Mm-hmm. And
you can really put your weight on it too with your feet and everything too.
Sure.
If you need to, right?
And I think I feel like it's a little bit sharper than some of the probes and stuff that come out. So one thing I noticed, this is my last year when I pulled plugs, so obviously I haven't done it yet. But I just noticed how much of my thatch, you see, I mean, goodness, that was at least an inch worth of thatch, and that's why I really started hammering the dethatching, doing the dethatching a couple times a year, because I noticed that. But it's
That's a
just
cool
really,
visualization of it, though. I mean, it's cool to see
yeah,
that.
yeah. But having so much compaction of our soil out here, clay soil and stuff, it's just really hard to get a probe down into that ground. So this year I might do the probe plugger to see if I can't get a little more soil, because really the best method is to take different samples in different parts of your yard, right? So your backyard, maybe you're pulling, 6 or 8, maybe 4, I guess if you're using the probe plug or something like that, maybe a little less, but you're going to do strategically different areas of your yard and pull those samples, and break up all the soil and loosen it up and get all the debris out of it, get your grass and thatch and everything else out. But they do recommend pulling the same depth every time, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like if you can't get, if you're pulling 6-inch plugs and you get to a part of your yard that you can't pull 6-inch plugs, that, something else may be handy, like the probe or something, to get a little bit deeper down in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the number one consideration, right, is obviously making sure that you're taking the same amount of soil from every thing. So, it's up to you what you're going to do. You're going to take 3 inches, you're going to take 6 inches, but either way, you need to make sure that you're consistent across all of that. And so for anybody that hasn't ever done a soil test, I mean, it's, I'm sure that, most everybody knows, but if you don't know, it just kind of gives you an idea of what all is in your soil, what's going on with the soil, what kind of nutrients are in there, what kind of micronutrients, macronutrients, how compacted is the soil, that's going to help determine, how well, water is running through your soil, right? So think of it like sand. It's going to run through a little bit easier. Clay, it's going to run through less. So that's going to be called your CEC level, or how dense your soil is. So your soil test kind of tell you all of those things. So if you're new to a soil test, the reason that we've talked about, and we're saying we like the Earthworks soil tests, is if you go to a extension, or if you go to just something like Logan Labs on your own, you're basically going to get a sheet of raw data. Now, you could spend the time researching it and looking it up and figuring out exactly what everything means, and being able to say, okay, what's an optimal level, right? Obviously, those resources are out there. You can sit there and spend time researching it. Earthworks is going to give you that same detailed kind of lab analysis of everything, but it's also going to give you an easy to read sheet that's going to kind of look at it more like a thermometer, if you will, or a speedometer, and kind of tell you where you're living and how you want to live. Right, there you go. So
yeah, this is mine.
I'll share my screen here in a minute too, because that's what I was just sitting here being quiet. I was looking up.
Oh,
okay. By way of comparison, years ago, I had gone ahead and gotten one of the yard mastery soil tests, right? I wanted to see what the difference was and how that's going to stack up with a lab test. I couldn't find the results from that. I'd gotten a new computer since then. It's not on here, but I have there was a post, I don't know, almost 4 years ago. It was probably sometime in 2020, maybe spring of 21, where I did a soil test, and I kind of compared what that looks like. So you can go way back in my posts if you are interested in seeing that. But I'll go ahead and share my screen, and I'll show you guys kind of what I'm talking about with this stuff. Let's see here. Let's see, window. Here we go. Let's see, this should pull up here. All right, so when you do a soil test, what you're going to get back, let's look at this one first, right? So this is one that I had done. This was sent out through, fertilizer store here in Jersey, Peach Country Fertilizer Supply. They're down in South Jersey. They use Logan Labs. So this is going to kind of give you all your numbers here. So
yeah, that reminds me of like the Mizzou results too. That, it's kind of like that in its own way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's going to give you like, you put down how deep did you take your samples. You want to put that down so that they know what they're looking at, and they can kind of note that, in your report. You're going to have your CEC, your cation exchange capacity, the density of your soil, if you will, pH, how much organic matter, and then it's kind of going to go through here and give you some other stuff here. So you're going to have your micronutrients kind of all the way down. And this is another one for a different property. And then, so this is what you get, right? Now, if you go back to Earthworks, what you'll see is this is the same. Mm-hmm. This is also a Logan Labs soil test result from Earthworks. So it's going to give you all the same stuff, right? Everything's laid out the same. It's going to give you the same kind of numbers. Not quite as many, small details as you're going to have here, but this is the same, right? Now, the good thing about Earthworks is they also give you, like you guys had just pulled up, gives you this here. So this is just an easy to look at, easy reference point to say, okay, well, where am I really living with this stuff? And, kind of makes it just a little ease of reference, right? And then it'll kind of give you some recommended products, and kind of goes from there. So that's just that just kind of gives you guys an idea of when we talk about Earthworks and why we're saying like we really like the Earthworks test. I like the ease of being able to look at it, in a really quick, simple to look at, easy to read kind of form. I like the fact that they give you recommendations on like their products. They're like, hey, use this. And then they also give you recommendations on like generic products. Like, hey, yeah, apply some gypsum, apply some lime, something generic. Now with some of the other tests, what I do remember from doing something like the Petri dish, like yard mastery one where you put it in there in the water or whatever. That was kind of giving you like a real broad overview and saying like, oh yeah, you're low in nitrogen. Well, that's not something that's not really super telling in terms of what's really going on with your soil. Now it is going to have some of those other nutrients, and we've gotten into the weeds in past soil testing shows about like what is the lab scientific analysis. There's different types, different methodologies that you could use for a soil test, and I forget what all they're called because my brain's not big enough to hold all that information in. So whatever.
I know Olee was going to come on, and I think he wanted to talk about all that. So I don't know what type.
Yeah,
but
he knows. He knows a lot. He knows a lot about that kind of stuff. And listen, there's plenty of other. There's plenty of other guys that have made YouTube videos about there's this type of methodology and that type of methodology, and here's why one's better than the other. If you really want to get into the weeds, you can do all that stuff. But with the soil test, it's like, all right, if it's your first time and you haven't had the time to really sit down and look at how to read the soil test and what your optimal levels are for kind of all these different aspects of the soil test. The Earthworks one is good because it's high quality, lab soil test, and it just gives it to you in an easy to read, kind of format.
Yeah, I love like we were saying, like a temperature gauge kind of thing where, here's a low and a high, you're ideal, but here's where you're at, and those other written out the soil test data is good too, I guess, because it talks about how many pounds of this, how many pounds of that. But me, I'm a visual person, so I like to see those graphs and graphics on there that say, you're too far to the left, too far to the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the graphs are nice, but easy to use. I mean, listen, it's if it seems daunting for you to be like, I'm going to look up a local extension, I'm going to figure out exactly where the office is and exactly where the drop off point is, and how do they want it? Do they want your soil dried out? Do they want all organic matter already removed from the soil? How much soil do they want? If that seems daunting to you, the Earthworks thing's great. You just go on, you buy it, they send it to you, you just throw it all in a bag. They will take care of it at the lab in terms of pulling out little bits of grass or drying all the soil, combining all of that together, and then being able to take like a kind of overall look at here's your kind of median nutrients and soil health, right? They'll do all that, and then there's just a prepackaged shipping label in there, so you don't even have to think about it. You go out, put it in your little paper bag, roll it up, stick it right back out in the mail, the next day. So it makes it easy. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of that. Or if that seems like a daunting thing to be like, I'm going to go down to the ag lab. Like for me, it's at Rutgers, like a premier turf grass, and farming program. In this area, it's like, okay, well, I don't know where to go. That's a pretty big complex over there with all the ag stuff and the turf grass programs. I don't know. Probably wouldn't be terribly hard to find, but like I said, it makes it a little bit easier. So,
and if you've done it year after year, it's you probably form a relationship with those people, and you just know where to go all the time. But like same thing with what you were talking about. I was very surprised how easy the Earthworks soil test was. It's just like this little paper lunch sack kind of a thing, little brown bag they give you, and they say fill up the dirt to this line. So I went out and pulled plugs. I'm like, okay, I'll pull out 8 plugs in the back and maybe another 8 from the front or whatever. And man, I pulled those out, pulled out all the gunk and put it in there. I was like, man, this isn't even a half full of how much they're wanting. So I was super surprised on the amount of dirt that they take from you. So I went out and pulled some more plugs. But
yeah, they do. It is a decent amount to fill that thing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. It gives you the opportunity to get a number of spots in the yard, so you kind of get a good sample. Or if you're using that Pro Plugger, I guess you wouldn't need as many to fill it because it's just bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, maybe I'll do the Pro Plugger this year just to get enough dirt out that fill up that bag. Maybe it'll take it quicker.
Yeah, but I was seeing some comments about people breaking soil probes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, my good buddy Drew over at Lansey, he and I have become like really good friends over the last couple years. So I told him we were doing the show tonight. He said that we can give away some soil probes. So theirs is high quality. It's a nice thick steel. It's powder coated. It's got a nice rubber handle on it. But the main thing is it's a high quality steel. It's got a high tensile strength. You're not going to bend or break this one. So if you want to win one of these tonight, we're going to give away a couple of them, and we're also going to give away one of their new pneumatic lawn levels that they came out with last year. That's a brand new that's a new product that they came out with. So they have the leveling rake. They put a little gas shock on there for you so that it prevents it from kind of flipping over on you.
Yeah, that's pretty
cool,
man.
Back and forth and smoothing your soil out. So if you got any leveling projects and you want to win one of those, we're going to give one of those away as well. He wants to get it into some people's hands. And he wants to get some feedback on it. So we'll give one away. The thing is, if you get one, shoot Drew an email and let him know what you think about it, because they're looking for feedback on that new product. So that should be pretty cool to see. But Yeah. So if you're in the live chat and you need a soil probe, want a soil probe, or a leveling rake, type Landsy in the comments. We'll get a little wheel going here.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give away a couple of those things.
I can see if Brian, if you were gonna try to run names, I can try to pull up my soil
I'll
test
get
last
names.
year, and then I have like a rundown of some of the stuff that I use because I look at my soil test more of like a general guide than like I gotta get this exact whatever. Let me see if I can do this. Where's my thing?
Yeah, Bill working with a new setup tonight.
And I got my my monitor in front of me. But I'm trying to figure out how can I'm like missing the options to share screen.
Down the bottom, you do the present thing.
Yeah.
If you have it up already.
Oh, there it is. Okay, shit. I gotta move my laptop. Sorry, guys. This is funny.
You've been around for any particular length of time, we're not professionals at this. We've been learning as we go. We've been learning as we go. Okay, this isn't a highly polished production here.
This isn't a paid gig, man.
We're hanging out and we're talking grass and trying to share some experiences.
Is it giving you any kind of request, Brian, to let me share?
Our biggest thing is we're trying to get companies to you guys to learn about, and not anybody that same old.
So this is my soil test from last year in March, and looking at it, the main thing that I really did was the gypsum, and that was they recommended that because of the high sodium content, and because instead of using lime, I guess that would be another option from looking things up, but lime has it might raise your pH. So since my pH is already a little on the high side, that's why I think they recommended the gypsum there on that one. So I did that early on. And then, looking at a fertilizer NPK, phosphorus is low, potassium's low. So right there, I know that if I'm going to get a fertilizer, I could definitely use something that's got, all three on there, right? I don't necessarily need a phosphorus-free product. So that I had that in mind when I was looking at the fertilizer that I wanted to use. I wanted to use Propete last year. I really liked their fertilizer, so I got the 1358. I wanted to get a good amount of nitrogen, and put it all down good and heavy. Kind of my tradition is always to put Milorganite down early spring. And I don't really factor that into my program. I'm just like, this is going down early with my pre-emergent. This is just like tradition for like a good season. And then I'll figure out what my program is going to be going forward. So, I did that, and then I did the 1358 from Propete. And that's kind of what got me up in the summer. And then after that, doing an overseed and everything else, things kind of shifted. And I used the 333 from Earthworks, again, getting all three there with that. I didn't write down if I used the fossil or not, and I have a storage room. I don't know if it's in there or not. I may have used it and just forgot to write it down at some point. But having low phosphorus, apparently the fossil product, he was saying, that's the more available version. So you put that down, and hopefully it would be more utilized. Hopefully. So if I still have it, I might use that this year too. But so essentially, nice. I'd like to see how the sodium content looks, if that's shifted at all, and then again, how, potassium and phosphorus, are we looking a little bit better, than what we did last year? Some improvement there. So, I'm nervous, I'm hopeful, but this is the first time that I can compare two tests, because every time before this, I think this is my fourth lawn in 3 years. But my first time having basically a good 2 seasons in a row where I would do a soil test. So
yeah, back to back.
Yeah, I'm excited to see.
It'll be interesting to see your sodium content with the application of gypsum last year, because you hear a lot about, oh yeah, that takes years to correct. It takes years of applications you have to put down. hundreds of pounds of gypsum over, the course of 4 or 5 years to try to really, see too much movement. But it'll be interesting to see, like, okay, well, what does one season of application, however many pounds you put down over the course of, over per square foot, or per thousand, if you will, like, it'll be interesting to kind of see, like, if you move the needle on it at all.
That's what I'm looking for, how much of a, how shifted will things be, and then, but again, if things are crazy different, is it just because of the random sample is different, or, maybe there's still residual product from last fall too, but I don't know. So I'll be curious to see what the results are. I'm looking forward to seeing how they are.
Yeah. And you'll probably also want to take into account the fact that, you did put in a sprinkler system. So making sure, if you do something like that, right, making sure that, like, okay, you don't want to pull a whole bunch of samples from where you dug it up, and you're now testing the soil that last season was, a foot underground or underground, right?
Like, I didn't pull from those areas. Like, I think, like you were saying, in my mind, it was just to be on the safe side. I want to see more of the established lawn. Like, had I not done that in that area, because I did give that area a little bit more fertilizer with the overseed. I came back in for another round of some simple lawn solutions later on. It got more love than the main lawn, but the main lawn is going to be kind of my program going forward. So I didn't get those areas, just the parts that I didn't tear up and overseed. Well, I overseeded the whole lawn, but anyway, those parts were just different. So that's another difference too. So in theory, that would just be either residual from whatever I had left over. Like, maybe I did I use too much? Maybe overkill, or am I shifting the needle? So
and I think what we all strive for is our soil to do most of the work, right? And so what we're doing is we're testing the soil to know what it lacks, so that if we give it to it, I mean, essentially, I just kind of hope that once I hit all the right numbers, I hope my soil will maintain that, and I won't have to do as much messing around with it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my hope, is to get the soil right, and I think the grass and vegetable gardens and whatever else will follow suit and just look good and be good.
Yeah, and I see a question from Josh in the chat about, will a fall application of fertilizer skew your spring soil test results? And it won't. That's why we've always kind of said, okay, well, get out there now and do a soil test before you put anything down. And I forget, we had done some research in, a past soil testing episode. You can go back and listen to it and try to find exactly what it was. But we had done some research and, kind of looked up, like, what your window needs to be, right, from your last fertilizer application or in between applications, when the best time to soil test is. And generally speaking, we've kind of settled on, I think it's probably best to do it in the spring before you put anything down, because what you put down in the fall was used, especially, something like your nitrogen. I mean, again, we don't need to be concerned with testing for nitrogen, because that's gonna come and go. Those levels are going to fluctuate based on, what kind of fertilizer you're putting down. Now, granted, you are going to have nitrogen in the soil that's just kind of going to be a steady state level of nitrogen, but those numbers are going to get totally skewed. So I don't even look at the nitrogen levels when I'm looking at a soil test. That's not really what we're chasing, right? We're looking at, the soil, the sodium content. We're looking at the compaction of it.
Isn't it like the nitrogen is something that it's going to fluctuate frequently, right? So like at any given time of the season, it's going to be different, and it gets used quickly. So you're going to be applying it. That's why when
it rains, it can change,
Yeah, exactly. So I think, like, it's not something that's more of a consistent number. It's like your blood glucose versus your A1C or something. Like, not that dramatic, but that's less important, because I'm already going to need to put down this much, just because this is what we know these plants need on an annual basis for ideal growth or whatever. That's just standard. I mean, this cat, more so than the rest, I think.
Yeah, this cat, West Tennessee, he just put in the chat, I believe 60 days between apps. I mean, I think that's somewhere in the ballpark of what we had discussed, like 60 days after, an application of fertilizer, you could get a pretty good read on your soil test. I want to say that's pretty accurate.
It also could be slow release that you put down or fast release too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of factors that you got to kind of look at. So realistically, at this point in time, it's like if you applied something in the fall, like say you did something in, October, you were chasing that Halloween, domination end of October, early November, you were throwing some stuff down, trying to, push that last little bit of growth before the weather got cool. And again, this depends on where you live, because maybe you live in a warmer climate where, like, man, you got a cool season grass, and you live, I don't know, if you live down like by my folks in South Texas, near Mexico, and you're growing a cooler season grass, which is probably not too many people, but if you do, you could probably be for Southern California, and you're able to, be growing, for the most part, like year round. I mean, you look at even like Olee's lawn, like his lawn's green, and it's not like he's out there mowing every week, but his stuff's not, his grass is not dormant like my grass.
I would imagine
there's a lot of factors here, but I mean, realistically, you put something down in the fall, you're good to test your soil now, and whatever you put down is not going to skew.
It should have broken up by that, by now. Yeah, just don't put it down and then test it, to get ready for next year. Kind of the same thing where, some people can do their tests in the fall. Why not? You test it and then it goes dormant, and then you're planning all winter long, which your essentially your strategy is going to be for the season. Or you can just pull it right now and get it right back, and then you're kind of rushing to try to fill in what you need to do. It goes both ways. So
and I mean, you can go nuts with it, but I mean, look, if you really want to do a whole bunch of soil tests throughout the year and kind of keep track of it. I mean, look, golf courses are doing that, sports turf guys are doing that, where they're taking multiple soil tests throughout the year, and they're timing it with their fertilizer application, so as not to necessarily skew those results. I mean, go for it, but you gotta just kind of look it up if you're looking to do something. Like a biannual one. You want to do one in the spring and one in the fall. Look up some guidance, because it's out there in turf grass publications and everything else. But
yeah, definitely.
But anyway, we're getting late. Brian, where are we at with that wheel? You almost done there, buddy?
Oh yeah, I'm done with the wheel.
Cool. Let's spin it.
Just need to put a little song on here. Something that sounds good. All right. So, we are doing, is it 2 or 3 probes?
We're going to do 3 soil probes.
Okay.
And a pneumatic lawn level rake.
All right.
You got 4 chances to win.
4 chances.
Friends over at Lansey.
That's awesome.
Fine New Jersey company.
We got 24 entries, so basically... Cool. 1 of every 6 people in here is going to win.
You got some good chances. So listen, if you win something, shoot me a message, and we'll keep track of who won. So if you won, just shoot me a DM on Instagram with your name and your address, and I will I'll get that information over to Lansey. As soon as I get everybody's information. So listen, if you win, do me a favor, shoot me a message tonight or first thing in the morning. That way I can get it over to them tomorrow, and we can get that stuff out to you so that you can, use it to take your soil test.
Yeah, and once again, what Brent said, show them some love, guys. I mean, they're kind of doing this just out of the kindness of their hearts. So they would prefer, obviously it's not a requirement or anything like that to be entered in, but it's just the decent thing to do is give them a shout out when you get the probe or the rake and tag them in it. It's just kind of like a marketing thing for them.
Yeah. If you got a public Instagram, TikTok, whatever you do, tag them in it. That way they can, repost your stuff or share it to their story, whatever. Shoot them a message, let them know how you like the products, and they're always looking for customer feedback, because I'll tell you, from my like really getting to know and really becoming friends with Drew, the owner, he is all about trying to make things better, ongoing, continual basis. I mean,
and they won't know that unless they hear from you guys.
About that. So, all right, let's spin it.
And that's what we do.
On and on.
Find those companies to help you guys. So shuffle it 3. I'll shuffle it between each spin because we found out that things kind of stay together. Or the spin kind of goes together. So,
oh, dude, we have no idea where the KOTG belt is. I don't know. I haven't seen that stuff in a long time. 1, 2, 3. Full screen. All right. So this is for one of the probes. First winner is. Oh, that was close. All right, TJ Harden. TJ, you get a soil probe. Shoot me a message with your full name and your address. 1, 2, 3.
They are quality. That powder coat does feel nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And they got
winner number 2 for the probe.
Too.
Rob Yee.
Congrats. Rob Yee. Good deal.
Winner number 2. Shuffle it 1, 2, 3. All right, this is for the last probe. Winner number 3. All right. Orlando.
Nice.
Salas.
All right.
All right. Here we go.
Who gets
the finale?
The pneumatic lawn level rake.
Man, I want to see that in action.
I'm going to shuffle it 5 times just for fun. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's really shuffled now. And away we go.
All right.
Leveling rake.
We're leveling.
Oh! Good drama.
Curtis actually just got bypassed on the probe on one. He was so close.
See.
And see, Curtis, there you go. You're the winner of the leveling
Good
rate.
things come to those who wait.
Yeah, congrats, man.
That's awesome.
So yeah, reach out to Brent.
Yeah,
he's your Landsy advocate. He'll get that information over to you.
Yes,
get them shipped out. So awesome.
Nice. Right on.
Well,
fun,
congrats, winners. It's always fun to be able to give stuff away. So, big thanks to those guys.
Thank you, Landsy.
Yeah. Big thanks to Drew and Ashley and the whole team over there for hooking it up. And, we'll get that stuff out to you guys hopefully soon here. They're usually real quick about as soon as we send them stuff or whatever, they're quick with their shipping. So,
yeah. So let's go. Everybody go out there and get your new probes and do some soil testing. And
yeah, man, bring on spring.
Let's get that soil right for the season, man. Right around the corner.
Go Seahawks.
Go Seahawks. Nate's probably gonna type "Go Hawks" in the chat. He's been with us.
I see him in there. I'm waiting for it.
All right, guys. Thank you, live chat. We'll be back next week. We're gonna talk more about spring and getting ready for it.
That's it.
See you next week.
Good night, everybody.